Hello everyone, Sari here. Thank you for joining me again for the continuation of this series of working with the paper pads that we have and get over the hurdle of feeling overwhelmed and whatnot. This is the card that we created in the last video. I just want to say that one of the best techniques for finishing a card is definitely to put it aside once you're done and not to think about it too much. Because we may become more critical as we finish it and look at it. So I do recommend to not beat yourself up if you're not liking it right away. Put it aside and then look at it later. You will realize that you will enjoy it a lot more than right after creating the card. So to not waste too much more time, I'm just going to continue on creating the next card and going through the process of doing that. And let's start looking into our paper pads again. Remember, I'm trying to stay very simple, so I don't have many sentiments. I'm going to try to do most of my cards based on the sentiments that are in this card kit. So obviously you can use whatever you want. If you have stamps, that's awesome. If you have a die pack, a ephemera pack, that's great. Use those because those will help you create a sentiment for your cards. But like I said, I'm just trying to keep it very simple, and I'm going to try to create all my cards using the sentiments that are in this paper pad. That's really nice. Some of these sentiments are too big, and I don't think I can cut them appropriately. There's another one. Like for example, this might be too big and I may not be able to get it. But let's look at this one. This one's a nice, simple sentiment. I will destroy this back piece, but we get two simple sentiments. And the nice thing about these is they're also easy to cut up. So what I'm going to do is start off by just trimming these up. And you can use a paper cutter. You don't need to use scissors, but I'm just going to keep it nice and simple and just follow the line and cut it. So I'm going to take the first one, which is Merry and Bright, and I'm just going to follow along the blue line. You do not need to be perfect at all. Just cut. It's okay. It doesn't matter. The whole point is just to get yourself comfortable. Get out of that funk of, I can't do it, it's too much. Just have fun. What's the worst that can happen, right? You create a card that you don't like. That's okay. Because you can always just learn from it and move on. In this case, I am going to take that red. I don't know if I'll keep it, but if I leave it, then I have the option. If I cut it off right now, then I don't have the option later if I wanted to keep it. It'd be a lot more difficult. Okay, there's a lot of great images on these. Like, you look at that, like a stocking banner. These are really cute. So these could be used definitely for another card. But now we have two nice sentiments that we can use. So if we look at our paper, if we look for, let's say, Merry and Bright, let's look through our paper and see what we have that we can use. So right off the bat, this pattern paper matches that sentiment really well. So we have a nice snowy scene. So let's use that for the first card. And do we have anything else that kind of matches that theme? So we're looking for a nice snowy, sometimes you don't, and sometimes you do. So we do have snowflakes, but it's already snowing, so I don't think we need that. So because there's not much, what I'm thinking of is potentially using up some of these little images here. Okay. So I am thinking maybe we can create a scenic card. Okay. It's so easy to do when it comes to winter. Make a scene card with a snow mount. It never fails. It's usually very adorable. So what I will do is I'm going to cut this piece out so that it's the biggest piece that I can get, and we'll see what elements of this we can use on a card. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I cut this piece down to as thin as I can get without, or as wide as I can get, and it's a 5.5 length. It looks like it is roughly 3.5 inches, almost 3.5 inches across. So if we put it on a card, you can see that there's going to be about maybe a 1/2 inch on both sides. Okay. And so to create a snow mound, very easy. Just get a piece of scrap white paper. You can use anything, and you can just simply just create any type of anything you want, just like that. Okay, and there's your snow mound. If you wanted to create a second snow mound, all you need to do, what you can do, is just straighten this out, because this is the other piece of the snow mound. And then if you put it behind this, or you can flip it or whatever, you now actually have a layered snow mound effect. Like that, see? So now you can actually have layers. So I'll go and do that, and I just need to make sure that these are the appropriate sizes, but what I'll do is I'll cut it afterwards. So the next thing I want to do is I want to create a scene. So I want some of these little elements that are here and put them on this card. Now you will get some of that background, but that's okay. It's not going to be too noticeable the further in you get close to the design. The challenge would be more if you were to pick this one, for example, where there's brown in between the ribbons. So that one would be a little bit more challenging. But I am going to just pick a couple of these, and then I'm going to fussy cut them out, and then I'll be right back and show you just how to assemble it. Okay, so I went and cut out a bunch of little ones. I actually did cut out the Christmas tree just to see if I could do it. But like I said earlier, because the brown in it, it just doesn't look that good. But maybe I'll save it, because if there is a darker color behind it, I might get away with it. For example, in this design, potentially I can get away with it a little bit more because it's already brown. However, it does create a lot of shadows, so it may not work that well. But I'll keep it for now, just in case. But what I did cut out was this snowman, the hot chocolate icing rink, this bow, a little bird, and a cute little, I think it's a dog. It kind of looks like a cat dog, but I think it is a dog. Okay, so you can cut as many of these things out. And the reason I cut out a bow is because I want to show you how you can do some layering. And like I said, you can do that, cut out a lot of these little images, like the holly or some bows, and you can just start stacking to create a layered effect. So I'll just give you an idea of how you can do it, and then you can go and explore and have some fun with it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get our snowbanks set up on how exactly we want them to be displayed. I'm just going to have it nice and simple like this, but you can do whatever you want. You can have them going diagonal, straight diagonal, like a ski slope, but it doesn't really matter. It's whatever you like. So let's move these aside, and I'm just going to kind of see where I glue those down. And I will use some of my art glitter glue, which is probably clogged because it always does. So I will glue this one flat. And just to make sure that I have it in the right spot again, I think I had it like that. Let's double check. You get a little bit more. That looks good. So I'll lay that flat. And then the fun thing, that's what I like doing with snowbanks, is propping it up. And I do recommend using some foam squares because this will allow you to stick things behind it if you so choose. That's how you create your dimensions. These are just some foam stickers. I know I said we will just use glue, but I just want to show you what it looks like. And I also wasn't thinking. I just want to show you what it looks like when you add a little dimension. Okay. I did say I wasn't going to use anything but glue, but I forgot. Sorry about that. I just get carried away. So let's pretend I did the old technique of just taking a bunch of cardstock and layering it behind it for this case. So there you go. And then what I will do is just trim this down. Oh, I wasted one. Oh man. Oh well. Wasn't thinking. Okay, and then we'll do it on this side. There we go. And there we have our snow mound. Okay. So now you can just have fun and place it. But now I went and used some of the, I raised it. I will need to raise these other things. So I'm going to put my snowman there, just making sure that he's good. I am thinking about putting my sign there, and I want to put my bow in his hand, so I'll kind of replace that star or snowflake he's holding on his mitten. And then I have a bird who can sit on top of this sign here, and then my dog, which will stand close by. So that's going to be my very simplistic scene. So let me just finish with my foam, which once again, sorry that I forgot what I was doing and I didn't use glue, but it is one of the staples that I do purchase. Foam tape in squares definitely will not go to waste. So as I had mentioned earlier about just being mindful of the things that we buy and use the things that we do, foam tape is one of those that you will use. Because it just is so much fun to play around with and creating dimension. So, okay, so I'm going to set this happy little snowman down into my scene. I did cut these little foam squares in half just so that I could fit it without it being seen, but I never bothered with the side here because it's pretty flimsy anyways. And I forgot to glue, so let's just add a little bit of glue. There we go. Okay, so the dog, we'll just add some adhesive here and just lay him beside the snowman, kind of creating it so that it's level. Okay. Let's put the sign down. Normally I would use my Simon Says glue, just because it's really good for these fine details, but I am being lazy right now. So I'm just going to put this behind the snowbank so it gives it a little bit more depth. And then for the bird, let's just add a little dimension to that one to just separate it from the signpost, just so that it's not stuck right there. We'll just stick them right there. And then for the bow, I will just leave it at the same height. I just want to cover that snowflake. And the reason I want to cover the snowflake is because it has that brown color behind it. So I just wanted to cover it with something else. So it looks like he's holding a bow. Now I could have cut out one of those presents and put it down there. But I thought this is really cute. Just a simple scene. You definitely can go further. You can add glitter lines to the snowbanks. You can get some Copic markers and create some snow indents so that you're creating more depth into this card. You can die cut snowflakes and add them. There's hole punches that create snowflakes, and you can add those around. You can just put stickle glitter dots everywhere so that you're creating more of a glittery snow scene, right? So there's lots of things you can do to enhance a card. But before you do anything like that, we just want to get you comfortable and remember we bought this paper because we love the paper. So if we get discouraged just by the paper, then we won't even get to enjoy the embellishments. So that's why I'm not really focusing on embellishments. I just want to remind you to get back into enjoying why you love that paper. Remember why you love that paper. Like, what was it that inspired or got you to purchase it? And it may seem silly to some people talking like this, but at least for me, this is the problems that I deal with. I'll buy a pattern paper and then just let it sit there. So just thinking different things that you can do. Potentially a plaid would work because it's not just one solid color. So you could do something like that, but it kind of works. This one actually kind of works. So you know what? Let's do this. Let's try something that I normally wouldn't do and see how it goes. Let's do this together. I'm going to take this green, I'm going to cut it down to an A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I'll place this and see what happens. If it doesn't work, that size is reusable. Okay, so I cut this to 5 1/2 or 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That will cover the whole base of my card. And now let's see what it looks like. I think it might not be that bad. So if we center that, that's what it kind of looks like. I think that's pretty neat, actually. It kind of creates this illusion that you're kind of looking through two pillars or there's a frame. Like, that works really well. That worked way better than a solid color. So think about it when you have these nice patterns. This actually works really well and it really ties with the dog. So never be afraid to try. Don't just cut, because you never know how it's going to look. And if you're going to cut it into an A2 size, that's very usable. I know sometimes for me, when it comes to that type of thinking, I worry about what's on the other side of the paper. Like for example, I have these really beautiful presents and I start thinking, well, if I cut this now, then if I ever did want to use those presents, I can't because I've cut it up. But that will actually take you down a nasty little thought process, because what happens is you may never end up using that paper ever, because maybe the inspiration to use those presents will never come. If you have inspiration to use a piece of paper, do it, because that is your mind telling you, oh, I have a great idea, let's play, and use this. This is what's drawing you. If you, sorry, someone called my phone, so stop the video. But pretty much what I wanted to say was, follow your inspiration, follow what triggers your eyes, because that is where you're going to get most of your creativity, and that's where you're going to get the best unforced card, right? If I was cutting this and I wanted this, being afraid to use these presents, well, either two things can happen. One is that paper will never get used because I'm so afraid that I will lose the chance of this. And you may not ever create a card that looks like this either, because you're afraid to waste a piece of paper. So whatever inspiration, whatever catches your eye, just do it. Like I said, the worst case is in this, I would have had a A2 size background, and I can use it for something else. The same goes for when I was cutting out those little pages. Like, if you actually look at this, I massacred it. And on the other side, it's this beautiful snowflake background. I had a hard time cutting that at first because I love this background. I know I have two sheets, so that made it a little bit easier. But if I didn't, that does make it a little bit hard to swallow and to wreck it. But I know from experience that I just won't use it. And then you're going to try to force yourself to create a card using that snow background, and it may not be anything you like, because you're forcing yourself to use something on the pure basis that you're afraid of not wasting it. Like, I mean, that was pretty gutsy to cut that out, right? So just, I know it seems like a little rambling. It seems like it doesn't make any sense potentially, but this is exactly the things that I go through. And that's the whole point of making this video, right? Was to kind of saying this is how I feel. There may be other people who are struggling as well. So let's create a video that can help, if I can at all. If it doesn't help anyone, I'm still having a great time making this video, so there's no loss anywhere. Okay, so now what we have is the sentiment. That's all that's left. And you can have fun. Like, this fits perfectly across. That's pretty cool. You could like put warm wishes down here. Like, you can cover it because it's that will create a nice foundation so that it looks like they're sitting. Otherwise, they kind of look like they're floating because there's no shading there. So you could say merry and bright and warm wishes down here. See, what you can do then is you can make this a little bit more pretty just by following the W diagonal, and then it's kind of more decorative than a straight line. And I might do that just to try it out. And there's two options I can do here. Because I already used the foam tape, I can use foam tape on this as well, just because I've already broken my rule of not using it. So the reason I would do that is because this blue matches that blue very closely, so it gets lost very easily. That's fine, because you can still see the merry and bright. If you like that, go for it. If you want to lift it up, you can lift it up and have it so that the shadow will create a barrier. Another option is using some scrap paper of what you've used already, and you can do it like that. So now what you've created, if you line it up properly, is you've created a separation. So that looks pretty cool, right? Or another option is you can get some inks and you can coat the back. So there's many options that you can do to work with this. Now, what I'm thinking is I really liked this effect here. But what would be nice is if I can find where, I think it's this one. I think it's right there. I think that's where it matches. I think I'm going to do that. And to follow that little technique, I will find some scrap paper. I'm just going to use this white paper again, and I'm going to cut 2 little squares for the back of here. This is because this layer is higher than this layer. So this paper is pretty thin, so it will sag. It will just naturally start sagging down. So what you want to do is just bring it up to the level of this paper, which is pretty much just one little square that you need. And you don't need to worry too much about being the perfect size. It's just like foam tape. You kind of just want to, you're not worried about people pressing on it. You just don't want it to naturally just sag there. And it will. Definitely I would say try it out, just so you can see the difference. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue this right in the center there. I'm not going to bother lifting it because I've already created a separation with that background, but you could still lift it. That would still create a pretty cool effect. But I like this. Nice and simple. Let the paper do all the work for you. And then I'm just going to glue this one down. I'm not worried about this one sagging. It will sag, but I'm not worried as much because most of it is going to be down. But you will see a little bit of sagging. I'm just going to try to line this up as much as I can to be a straight line across. Okay. Now, you can add embellishments at this point. You can add pearls, you can add glitter. Like I said, there's so many things you can do to enhance Christmas, and winter is like almost the best time to get all your embellishments out and just go crazy, because the more glitter, the more shine, the better. It just makes your cards pop so much. But I'm going to keep it nice and simple and just stop it there, and just to show you what you can create once again with your card. I also have this other sentiment that I want to play with, but we'll see what we can do with that one. So that is the second card. We're getting there. Hopefully you're getting excited. Hopefully you can see the things that you can do. Just sticking with the pattern paper and a pair of scissors and some glue or foam tape. So thank you for joining me, and I will continue working on this series. I'll try to pump out these videos a little bit quicker because we are running out of time. But thank you so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.